Hi, your fellow classmate here, Gretchen Petrie, reporting my observations for the week of March 23rd through the 27th of 2015 in Fairbanks, Alaska. My observation site is near the university at my home over in the Aurora subdivision, basically. I reported for the most part between 11 a.m. and noon. The NWS data location that I used was Fairbanks International Airport. This is the last observation worksheet that I did for the week. It was done on Friday the 27th at 6:09. All my other observations were done in the morning between 11 and noon. However, I wasn't able to get out as early as I wanted to, and therefore I had to do my observation at 6 p.m. As you can see, the current temperature was still up in the 50s, even though it was 6 o'clock at night, which is pretty much unheard of here in Fairbanks for March. However, I'm liking it. There wasn't really any wind, however, there were some clouds in the sky, which I hadn't known or noticed earlier in the week, so that was interesting for that day. This is the temperature plot of the NWS temperature recordings and my recordings, and I noticed that my lows matched very well with the original plots lows, and my averages were right about average, I would say. However, my max temps that I got for some reason are way over what the NWS observation station recorded. My guess for why that is because my thermometer is right next to my house. It's not in like an open space, and so it's kind of shielded on one side, so maybe that created for some more warmth versus being out in an open field. These are my observations for the week, and as you can see, it was around 20 and 30 degrees every morning when I went out to check, except for on Friday it was in the 50s because it was in the evening that I went and did my observation. The pressure that I recorded continued to rise over the week. However, when I go to the pressure graph, we can see that something was wrong, I'm assuming, with my measurements, because my pressure observations keep getting higher and NWS said the pressure was getting lower. And I'm going to go with they are the right ones on this. So I'm not really sure what happened there. But my max is around 50, 60 degrees each day, and the minimum was bordering just over 0 degrees, between 0 and 10 degrees. And my average temperatures were pretty consistent through the week. I'd say they got higher as the week progressed. As far as cloud cover goes, I did not observe any clouds until the very last day on Friday, and it was about 1/4 of the sky was covered with clouds, and they were autocumulus clouds. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. I started my observations on Monday, so here is the first TV weather map for the week that I did, and as you can see, Fairbanks is right about here. There were kind of some clouds on the outskirts, but not really in the middle. As we move to Tuesday, we see that a trough is coming through, and the clouds have gone north. As we continue in the week to Wednesday, we can see that a cold front moves in and that there's some more clouds. Fairbanks is right about here. And further into the week on Thursday, it gets even more cloudy. We can see some darkness over, some dark shadows over Fairbanks right here, with the trough continuing. And last but not least, on Friday, we see some low pressure systems right down here, but not really near Fairbanks. Fairbanks still pretty cloudy on Friday. Out of the infrared, visible, and water vapor images, out of the infrared, water vapor, and visible images, I would say that the visible image matched up closer than the other two to my observations. You can see that there's some cloud cover on Wednesday, but not a lot right near Fairbanks right here. For the water vapor, you see that the brightness right here is indicating that it's pretty wet, but I didn't observe any precipitation in my area. The infrared image did match up with what I observed of the warmer weather, as you can see by the darkness that's right over here around Fairbanks. As far as this week's weather's observations go, I would say that the weather was particularly unusual for this time of year. Normally it's colder than 50 degrees during the day, but I am not complaining because I love this warmth. I would say my only challenge when making my observations was my time constriction that I had on Friday, and that I wasn't able to get my observation around 11 like I had been the rest of the week. And also, for some reason, I cannot work the barometer, obviously, because my pressure was 1013 and 1022 when NWS recorded it as being 998 and 1002. However, I did still have fun doing my observations, and I hope everyone else had a good time making theirs.